things are opening up just as they are in Australia. We've got shops opening up, restaurants opening up. People are starting to go back to work. But no, we're not seeing that. I mean, there's a lot of support, a lot of government encouragement to do these things. And people are supposed to wear masks in all public venues and on trains, in restaurants, and so on. But there isn't enough enforcement going on. And as you just showed this video about how they're trying to have this publicity campaign in Australia to get people to be aware of the conditions, people aren't quite aware. Shops and restaurants don't really want to enforce the mask mandatory mask requirements. The police aren't equipped to turn up everywhere, obviously, and there's this not complete understanding of why they need to wear masks. I was on the train yesterday, my first train trip in 5 months, and the woman adjacent to me took off her mask to apply her makeup, which I thought was somewhat inappropriate, and I didn't think was a very good safety thing. But you know, what do you say as a customer, and who says something? So I think we're really at this point when people want to have less restrictions, but it's an ongoing issue really. That there's very little tracing and there's very little evidence that the number of tests really don't mean anything. So today I think 61 people were recorded in the mortality numbers for England. But I think we're seeing a return to some level of normality, but cautiously, I think, and people have to be aware that this problem hasn't gone away. COVID-19 is still with us.
Yes, it certainly is. But we had some big news, didn't we, this week with the human trials of the vaccine at Oxford University. We're hearing encouraging news from studies. However, there are still many questions to answer. Can you bring us up to speed on the developments?
Indeed. I think that, this is a bit of vaccine optimism where everyone is watching this space, as it were, to see that there will be a vaccine. Everybody wants, obviously, a vaccine, and the idea is the vaccine will bring us back to normal. The thing is, Janie, the Oxford University trials are sort of at a very early stage. So this was the phase one trial, and a phase one trial involves about 1,000 people, and you normally use healthy people to see if the vaccine works on healthy people. If it passes phase one, then you move to phase two, where you test on tens of thousands of people, and not just healthy people, but tens of thousands of people who have COVID-19, who are infected. And then you control for all sorts of things and see if, in fact, if it works. Then we go to phase three. And phase three is when you check for long-term effects. You want to find out, if there are any, if people start growing hair in the wrong places, or there are side effects, or other diseases are being caused by it, and so on. So these are things that happen in phase three. And so the Oxford, it is good news, no doubt, but it's early days. It's just phase one. And in fact, there are about 6 other drugs that are now coming to the end of phase two and moving to phase three. The Moderna virus vaccine is moving to phase three on Monday. And I believe there's another vaccine by Pfizer, which is also moving to phase three. So it's early days, but it's always nice to be optimistic about these things.
Yes, well, we certainly need a lot of optimism in this serious time. Now, Prime Minister Boris Johnson admitted to the government, quote, they could have done things differently, and he didn't understand COVID-19 during the first few weeks and months of the outbreak in the UK. Did he suggest, Professor, what could have been done?
Well, I think I have to be fair to Boris. There wasn't much. I mean, I think the basic problem was people didn't trust scientists at the beginning. And the scientists themselves were a bit confused because, this was a new virus and they weren't quite sure how it was going to play out. So they sort of discounted this and went to this traditional idea that we'd have herd immunity if everyone got infected. So, as you may recall, Boris happily went around shaking hands with people and kissing babies during the early days of the pandemic. And of course, then later on, we found out that asymptotic people can also infect others, and there are a lot of asymptotic people out there. So yes, if he had had a lockdown a week earlier, the estimate is that half the people who died from COVID-19 would not have done so. But this is hindsight, and I'd like to give Boris the credit here for it's very hard to predict. It would have been very hard to predict that a week would have made such a big difference.
And just quickly, Professor, pre-COVID, the focus was on Brexit. Can you keep us up to speed on some of the latest information?
Yes, many of the negotiations are stalled between the EU and the UK. And the UK isn't paying attention. The government's obviously distracted, but the fact of the matter is they refuse to take an extension on Brexit. The idea was to have longer to negotiate. The deadline currently is December 31st, and the EU has offered to extend it, but the British government insists they want to leave on December 31st. But the negotiations aren't moving fast because everyone's preoccupied with other stuff, especially the UK government. So we are in danger, Janie, of having kind of two strikes, first with the COVID-19 economic problems coming up, and on the other hand, the hard Brexit coming at the same time early next year.